Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about responding rather than reacting, and we're really building directly on the topic that we covered last time, which was discovering emotions in the body. So as you practice mindfulness more, you will begin to notice, or especially when you intentionally bring attention to what the body feels like when we're undergoing particular difficult times. So if you're observing your body during stressful times, you may notice, even before you're cognitively aware of the stress in your body and how it manifests in your body, you might begin to notice what those physical sensations feel like. And so when the stressful time comes, before you even recognize, hey, I'm feeling stressed right now, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling afraid, that the body starts to give you those signals. So you start to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm feeling warmth on my skin, I'm feeling tightness in my chest, my breath is becoming more rapid. This is anger. I recognize this. And as much as I maybe want to deny the fact that I'm experiencing strong emotion right now, the signs are there. It's clear. My body is showing me very clearly that I am experiencing this emotion. And so this is the power that we become armed with, that we can start to notice these emotions early. And that is really the key to responding rather than reacting. And we can use that information as that very first step. So what you'll notice is that if you aren't aware of what's going on, if you aren't aware of your body, if you haven't cultivated much mindfulness, you'll see that you most of the time are just cruising around in autopilot mode. That what has happened is that through the years, you have created these, I like to call them automatic subroutines, that your person just does the things that you've always done because it's easier, right? I mean, why do these subroutines exist in the first place? Is because it's complicated to have to think through every single thing that we do. And you'll see, if you ever look at an infant or a toddler, you'll see, and I especially know, I see my toddler all the time trying to consider what to do. And it's tiring, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that toddlers and infants need to nap a lot. Right? It's because just engaging with the world is extremely tiring because every single action needs to be considered, including physical actions, right? Like there's a process for everything, for running, for jumping. And, that goes with reacting and knowing what to say at a particular moment. So all of this stuff is new and experimental, and none of it's really been written, let's say, in our heads. So that's something that, to ease all of that difficulty that we may have of knowing what to do and what to say and even what to think. I mean, that's something that you can observe as you've practiced mindfulness more and more, is that even your thinking becomes habitual. And so that we run on autopilot because that's just the most efficient way to operate. And you'll even notice that the things you say aren't original most of the time. That you're just repeating something that you've said before or that you've heard before. And it's the easier way to do it. The harder way is to really notice what's going on in the situation and come up with a novel approach, or have a novel way of thinking about it, because that's not the easy way. And we're so used to following in our autopilot way so much of the time that we don't even have the ability to recognize that we're doing it. And so this is the key for mindfulness to come in, is to be aware of what you're doing in any given moment. I mean, this really is the definition of mindfulness, being aware of what's going on right now and doing it in a way that we're not judging ourselves for our reaction. And then this is important as well, because the reaction's going to happen. And a lot of the time we don't have the space to modify what it is that we're going to do. Is that the reactions are all there, that it's just so easy and so habitual to fall into that autopilot response that we literally don't have control over what we're going to do or say or even think next. And so this really is, and I'd always love to quote this Stephen Covey summary of Viktor Frankl's work, which is between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response, and in that response lies our growth and our freedom. And so this really is our ability to grow and to be free, is to tap into that space between stimulus and response, right? And I don't think that Stephen Covey or Viktor Frankl were thinking about mindfulness when that quote came up, but that is the one thing that I can tell you from my personal experience. If someone, and some people have asked, hey, what is the most powerful or the most useful thing that you've gained from your mindfulness practice? And I won't recite the quote word for word, but I will say that my ability to respond in difficult situations is significantly greater after having practiced mindfulness. And it's something that I noticed after only about 2 weeks of regular practice. When I was taking mindfulness-based stress reduction, after about 2 weeks of doing the body scan regularly every single day for 45 minutes, and during those times going, why am I doing this? I can't feel anything happening during these 45 minutes. And I think that's it's encouragement for people who are just starting to meditate. That even though I didn't feel anything happening, I persevered in the practice, and I discovered that sure enough, even though those times in meditation were not relaxing, that I found that body scan was something that I just really wanted to fidget and move during the whole time that I was doing the body scan. I did discover that, one, doing the body scan itself became easier and that I didn't want to fidget after a while. And two, I began to notice in my daily life what everything felt like and what was going on, and noticing myself reacting in ways that weren't necessarily useful for the situation. So, my aha moment was being stuck in traffic, which may be something that you can relate to. Or do you get flustered during traffic? And is that response appropriate? Truly, what can we do in those times? Is there anything we can do that's actually going to make us arrive to our destination faster? Is there a way to get to our destinations more safely if we're calm? So that was the key for me. Meditating allowed me to expand the space between stimulus and response. And I encourage you to try meditating every day and see what happens. See if you also can start to see an expansion of that space between stimulus and response. Identify autopilot, bring it into conscious, and decide the best action. Thanks, Maddie, for saying that. Jocelyn says, I'm starting to wonder how much of what I think I'm feeling is true and how much is something I'm supposed to feel. That's a really interesting topic to explore. Some people say respond instead of react. And so that is actually the name of today's session. So Jocelyn says, I need to focus more on mindfulness in general to slow myself down and breathe. And so that's sometimes hard to do in the moment because, well, that's the real question is, what is your mindfulness practice like? Because if you simply want to and you desire to have more awareness in those moments, unfortunately, that's not enough. I want to be more patient. I want to be kinder. But I find that desire alone isn't enough to cause it to execute, because I think almost everybody wants that, but we're still impatient, So that leads us perfectly into our practice. So that's the way to begin to expand that space, is to meditate regularly, daily. You brush your teeth every day, right? Probably 2 or maybe even 3 times a day. Going to the gym for the mind every day, cleansing the mind is useful as well. So let's go ahead and get into our practice. Would encourage you to find a posture that is going to support you in your practice. So maybe sitting up straight and tall. Perhaps lying down if you feel that is a better posture for your meditation today. And so how are you arriving today? How do you feel? What have you just come from? Where are you going to? How are you feeling right now? So maybe cognitively naming what you feel like, and as well examining how the body feels. What do you discover as you examine your body? And so you can observe the body as a whole, from the tips of the toes to the crown of the head. And one thing that's undeniable as I examine my own body is that even though I'm sitting here still, my body doesn't remain completely still. My body's expanding as I breathe in, contracting as I breathe out. So can you attune your attention to the feeling of breathing? So just noticing not the idea of breathing, but instead the actual physical sensation. Where do you notice the breath? Is it in the abdomen? And for me, that's the most obvious place. Because there is a lot of movement there. The abdomen seems to press out quite far. I can feel the stretching of the skin of my abdominal wall. of my belly. I can feel the relaxation as it comes back. And I'm wearing this t-shirt. I can feel on the surface of my skin the t-shirt brushing very lightly on the surface of the skin as my abdomen expands and contracts. Is there anywhere else you can notice a breath? Maybe the chest. I can feel my chest expanding and contracting. My t-shirt isn't really brushing against my chest the way it was on the abdomen, but I do feel it getting a little bit tighter as I breathe in, a little bit looser as I breathe out. And so I'd encourage you as well to see if you can tune into the tiny details of the physical sensation of breath. As discovering these details, looking at your breath and body with curiosity is one way to be able to focus the attention just a little bit more. And one thing I always notice when I start meditating is that my mind wants to go all over the place. It wants to be anything except at my breath. So it can be encouraging to have a few moments of concentration. So can you use these little details to hold the attention here? For today's meditation, let's scan through the trunk of the body. So kind of like a mini body scan where we use the trunk of the body as the object of meditation. So we will scan slowly and in detail through this region of the body. So beginning by letting go of attention at the chest and scanning down to the pelvis. So noticing where the body is in contact with the cushion or chair. So starting to notice the details of contact and pressure. What are you sitting on? Besides your memory of sitting down and knowing what you sat on, can you, with your sense of touch, know what it is that you're sitting on? Is it a wooden chair? Is it a cloth sofa? What's the material of the sofa? I mean, not that we need to identify what it is, but can you tell how hard or how soft that material is? Can you feel its contact on your buttocks? I'm sitting on a buckwheat cushion. It has a very distinct feel to it. And I can feel where that cushion touches my left buttock. And what part of it contacts my left thigh, if any. What about my left hip? It's not in contact with the cushion. Can I identify exactly where the cushion touches and does not touch my body? Is it a definite line, or does the pressure taper off over an inch, 2 inches? And what about the right buttock? As I examine the right buttock, I can see, or feel in this case, that it is not the same as the left. The contact ends a bit earlier, a bit more to the left in this case. The balance feels slightly more pressure in the right buttock than I do in the left. And so let's start to include the rest of the pelvis. So we've included the buttocks. How about the tailbone? And in my case, my tailbone is not in contact with my cushion. Examining the hips, the left hip, the right hip, maybe feeling the clothing in contact with the hips. The front of the pelvis, the pelvic bowl region. The region of the genitals. The region of the perineum. The anal region. As we hold the entirety of our pelvises in awareness. See if you can notice all of the sensations that you feel here. Right here, right now. And now on your next exhalation, just allowing your pelvis to dissolve into the background of awareness. And then refocusing attention on the tailbone. And slowly moving up the spine. Taking in the sensations of each vertebra as you slowly move up the vertebrae. And begin to notice sensations in the lower back. Can you feel small nuanced movements in the lower back due to the breath. Slowly continuing up the vertebrae, becoming aware of the mid-back. Seeing if you can feel your ribs. Notice at least where your ribs are in the mid-back. Including as well the upper back. The vertebrae, the ribs, the shoulder blades, the muscles of the upper back, the skin on the outside, feeling of contact between your skin and the clothing. And see if you can take a moment now to expand awareness to the entirety of the back. And now, on the next exhalation, releasing the back from awareness. Guiding attention around to the front of the body, to the abdomen. Again, noticing how the abdomen is affected by the breath. And this time, let's expand awareness to include more. The sides of the abdomen, maybe even looking deeper inside. See if you can become aware of your digestive organs. Is there any movement there? And on the next exhale, letting go of the abdomen. Moving attention into the chest. Feeling the ribs with that slight expansion on the inhale, slight contraction on the exhale. Can you feel your lungs inside of your chest? Can you feel the diaphragm moving with each breath? Can you feel the heart beating inside the chest? And knowing that this isn't possible for everyone. Exploring as best as you can explore your own body. And if there are any judging thoughts, hey, why can't I feel this? Noticing those thoughts as part of the practice. See if you can let go of any judgment you may have of yourself. If your mind has been wandering a lot, knowing that that also is part of the practice. Just keeping that intention to stay focused. Right now, focusing on the chest. Whatever is here. And so let's slowly expand awareness to the entirety of the trunk of the body. The chest, the abdomen, the back, the pelvis. Just take a few moments here as we begin to draw our practice to its close. To be aware of this entire region of the body that we've been working with today. Congratulations for having made it through today's practice. I'll close practice with 3 rings of the bell. Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you everyone for practicing with me. Maybe take a moment to thank yourself for having taken time today to do this important practice. Maybe also setting some intention to continue doing it so that you can familiarize yourself. After all, this is the Tibetan word for meditation, is gom, which means to familiarize. That's what we're doing. Familiarize yourself with your body and how your body feels, and how your body feels especially when it's reacting to a thought or a situation. So how did it go today? How was your practice? Please feel free to write in the chat what happened for you, what you've noticed about your practice, or what's been going on with you lately. Maybe you've noticed a space between stimulus and response, whatever you'd like to talk about. Thanks, Jeff Chung, for your donation. Yeah, I'm enjoying these longer sessions too, Gene. That's why I opened it up to 45 minutes instead of 30. This guy's moving around, so I've got to have my Frank cameo. Shake your money maker, Frank. Yeah, it's good. I felt like I didn't always feel like I was rushing through the 30-minute sessions, but it's been in the last maybe year or so that I always kind of felt like 30 minutes just wasn't quite enough, that I was rushing to get through the what I wanted to talk about. And I was also I was rushing. I would tend to rush through the meditation a little bit, and even rush through this closing. I really enjoy being able to talk casually and at a, at a pace that's relaxed. I mean, this is, I mean, I know some of my teachers, right, is that because they're leading meditation, I can feel kind of how they're feeling. And if they're feeling stressed, it has some effect on me. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that my energy affects you. So I want to make sure that I can, I have enough space for myself to be able to teach in the way that's most effective for me and for you. And that says, to get my practice going, I started to see them as a treat for myself instead of a task. Thanks, Annette, for saying that. And I think that's something we can all learn from Thich Nhat Hanh, is to look at it as something you cherish and that you love. Breathe and smile. That was always one of my favorite paintings by Thich Nhat Hanh, was breathe and smile. Just to recognize that it's hard work, but it can also be a really, it's a time to remember what being alive is like, right? I mean, I think we're so occupied throughout our days doing this and doing that we kind of forget that we're alive. We forget that, what a miracle this is, that we're alive. And stopping and focusing on the physical processes of the body is something that makes you remember. It helps me remember what it's like to be alive. And I cherish that, and I smile. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this body scan today. Just scanning the trunk of the body. I mean, I can't even put it into words. It was great. I mean, I really enjoyed and felt peaceful just observing all of these little details of my body. And I hope you did too. And if you didn't, that's okay. And maybe next time you practice, there will be a sense of enjoyment that comes with it. So just encourage you to keep it up. And, the other little tidbit, the other little reward you get from practicing is watching the space between stimulus and response increasing, and seeing yourself do less harm to yourself and less harm to other people in your life. That's the biggest reward. I don't know, actually. I mean, tuning into the body, being aware that you're alive, it's pretty great too. Thanks, Sybil. Thanks, Geraldine. It's great having you here today. I'm happy I'm happy this experience was deep for you. Chris says, I see new faces. Keep coming back. Keep a daily practice. Yes, please do. Please do keep coming back to these live events. I've shifted my time a little bit in 2025. I've increased the time to 45-minute practices from 30. And as we've gone back into a lot of these basics, it's been wonderful. I've got into deeper topics related to mindfulness at the end of last year, and it feels like coming back to a lot of these basic topics. So I'm really happy to be teaching these things again. And speaking of which, I will be back on Tuesday morning. For those of you in Asia or in Australia or New Zealand, I will be back Tuesday morning. For those of you who are in the Americas or Western Africa or Europe, it will be Monday evening. And the topic will be, what is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? So we're going to go a little bit deeper into talking about, so really last time we did emotions in the body. This time we're talking about responding rather than reacting. And so this kind of the next logical step. What's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? So as I said just moments ago, the Tibetan word for meditate is gom, which means to familiarize. So this is what we're doing. We're using meditation to familiarize ourselves with what our bodies feel like. And even if we've been meditating for many years, this familiarization process, doesn't get old. As we get older, the process and the way that we react starts to change. Our lives are changing. The world around us is changing. So this constant refamiliarization of myself with myself is an important thing to do. And just like going to the gym, if you don't exercise those muscles for a while, they'll begin to atrophy and you'll kind of forget what it is or how to do these things, even though, like riding a bicycle, they never completely go away. So come back next time as we talk about what is the difference between mindfulness and meditation, and explore what is meditation a little bit more, and how does it relate to responding rather than reacting? How does it help me become aware of the physical sensations that emotions create inside of my body? Definitely felt peaceful for me. Thanks, Sybil, for sharing. Thank you, Aruna. Thanks so much for being here today. And Jean says, just last night I noticed that I had gone down a wormhole of despair. And after all the stuff coming out with the new administration, I became aware that I had not taken my meds, and the one that I don't take before my EMDR therapy, to really feel all those emotions and realize that I was really late in taking them. I took some meds and practiced mindfulness and brought myself to a more balanced place. Thanks, Jean, for sharing. I really hope that mindfulness can help everyone in that self-awareness, and so that it becomes, hey, wait a minute, something's off right now. Is there something that I can do to help shift how I am right now, so that maybe I can be more prepared to engage in the next thing I'm going to engage in my life? And meditation has more meanings than just to familiarize. That's just the Tibetan one. So we're going to talk about more of them next time. So look forward to sharing and chatting with you more about that. Hope you have a wonderful day. And thanks of course, Jean, for sharing. I really appreciate this. Appreciate those deep shares, and appreciate your vulnerability to have the courage to share that with all of us. And I cherish you. So thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for being here. Let's close our practice the way that we do, with some well wishes to ourselves and well wishes to each other. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life here on planet Earth and throughout the universe, may we all be happy and peaceful. I'll see you next time. And thanks for those basics, Madeline. That's another great topic that I'll be talking about soon, I'm sure. Like what are those things that we can do to make sure to take care of ourselves? Happy Lunar New Year, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Celebrate the way that you do. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.